Beautiful one. Let's jump in and get started for today. So good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Nicole Santani, and I am an alumni career coach here at the Carlson School of Management. And I would like to welcome you to today's workshop, Barriers to Entry, Women in Leadership. Alumni Relations at the Carlson School connects alumni, students, and community back to the school and to each other, and seeks to provide meaningful and valuable resources and career services, including programs like today and other online resources, as well as career coaching. Alumni Career Services is powered by philanthropy and would not be available without the generous support of the Carlson Family Foundation. I'm excited to introduce you to Barb Monson, a Carlson graduate. She's our alumni spotlight for today. She is a former CFO who built her career in the manufacturing industry, but her true passion was bringing out the potential of people. She is known as a problem solver who sees the story between the lines and can build bridges between two sides. Now Barb works with corporate clients, mobilizing teams and leaders so that they can get back to the work that isn't so hard to get that work done. She believes everyone can thrive at work without sacrificing profitability and loves bringing unconventional solutions and a lot of energy to the table, as you know you'll see today. I am looking forward to hearing from you today, Barb, and thank you so much for sharing your time and your expertise with us. Just a couple quick things. Today's workshop will be recorded. If you have any questions, you can enter them into the chat, and we'll be monitoring the chat as we go. We've reserved some time at the end to respond to participant questions. Live captioning is available in Zoom, so to turn that on, you can just choose Show Subtitles in the drop-down menu under the Live Caption tab at the bottom of your Zoom screen. And I think that's all of our housekeeping. Now that that's completed, I'd like to pass it over to our presenter, Barb Monson. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. What a warm welcome. I appreciate it, Nicole. I'm so pumped to be here, everybody, today, because like Nicole said, my whole passion is that everyone should be able to thrive at work. And I'm a proud graduate of the Carlson School. And so just to put those two things together, we're going to have so much fun today. So today we're specifically talking about helping women thrive. I do want to ask you to have your phones ready because there's going to be a few times where we'll have a link or something for you to do to interact a little bit. But I also want you to just have fun with this today and relax. All of this information will be available to you afterwards in a handbook. So you don't have to worry about keeping up, taking notes. Just eat your lunch and play along and just listen in and have a great time. All right? All right. We are focusing on our door, getting through the door. You can not advance, influence, or advocate. We want to advocate for others, don't we, from outside the door. And sometimes throughout the course of my career, I kind of learned that I was trying too hard and doing all kinds of things that they were not effective as long as I was on the outside of the door. And so sometimes just even knowing where we're at, it makes us change our technique or change our approach. Oftentimes, the door is not always your title either, because there were times that I had positional authority, but I still did not feel like I was inside of the door. Can anybody relate to that? You have the title, or you're a people manager, or you're an executive leader, and sometimes you're still frustrated, maybe trying to feel seen and heard. You're not sure where to go with that. I see. Yeah. You'll have to let me know, Nicole, if there's all kinds of emojis.
Yes, I'm seeing hands raised here. Yes, this is relatable.
You guys will have to help me out because I can't see your fabulous selves. The thing to remember, though, as frustrating as that can feel, to not feel like we're blaming anyone, because what I learned, and it's really important, is that really only those who are on the outside of the door are aware that it exists. A lot of times people are just completely oblivious that there's maybe feeling like the inside or the outside. Now, I experienced this a lot. I was in corporate finance for 26 years. And I don't want you to feel discouraged thinking, well, she had certain credentials, or she was a leader, she was a CFO, because I don't have any significant differences in background or talent or anything else that enabled me or allowed me to get to that role. I just did some strategies that I had to figure out along the way. If anything, it should comfort you to know I'm one of the world's most unlikely leaders. Look at this picture of me in high school. You can even just see I'm just kind of shrunken. I played small, I thought small. I actually was small. I didn't hit 5 feet and 100 pounds till I was a junior in high school. So I did not grow up with this presence of authority. You know, people didn't notice when I walked into the room. And I wanted to share this particular picture because I actually was technically a leader. I was the captain of the cheerleading squad and we didn't have a coach. Really small school. All we had was our squad. We were self-managed. And I wrote and choreographed all of our cheers. But I would bring them to the squad and teach everybody and walk through it. However, I had such little confidence in it that I gave a friend of mine credit. And my best friend went to a different high school. We were in, different conferences. We didn't play each other. So if the squad didn't like the cheer, then it wasn't on me. And I didn't have to own that. I also got no credit for it, but that's where I was. So if that can make it into executive leadership in very male-dominated industries, a lot of manufacturing, a lot of equipment, just industrial, you can do this. You can do this. So let's have a little bit of fun with this today. Before I start sharing strategies, I want to get your thoughts. Cross your fingers, everyone, that this is going to work today. This is where, Julie, there's that poll, there's Menti. There's a link that Julie's going to kindly drop in the chat. And there's this code up here that I hope you can see. And let me know if I need to read that off if it's not visible. But let me start the poll. What you can do is share your thoughts in the poll and it'll start to reveal everybody's answers in a word cloud. If it's working, it worked when I tested it. It might not. You never know. You never know.
It's in the chat, and it's asking for the code, which is also in the chat.
Perfect. What I find with a question like this, just as it's compiling, and this is anonymous, so, be honest, everybody, but you might think of 1 or 2 different things that are challenges, but then you see everybody's answers on the board and it's like, oh yeah, that too, that too. So we're collectively feeling all this stuff. And this might not be working. This might not be working. But let's keep moving.
It's working on the screen so we can all see the answers that are coming in.
Oh, you can. I just can't.
Yeah, so it's kind of split between organizational culture. The only one that doesn't have anything is other, but otherwise everyone's sort of picking, I think, everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. I'll keep moving that. Well, look at that. Well, thanks for playing along, everybody. So let's get into strategy of whatever it is that those challenges are. And you might have just something else completely different in mind from what was in the poll. But these are strategies that you need to customize for you because we're all different. We all have our different style, but they're general enough that you can take something from them and apply. All right. We're going to start with this. The first thing that you need to do is balance blending in with standing out. And again, we're working on the door, right? So blending in, this might give you an indication if you're blending in a little bit too much, because I don't want you to think that I have to be a chameleon all the time, or if you're a natural peacock, I know some of you are out there and you're a peacock, there's a time and place. So blending in the right way does not mean changing who you are. And it does not mean dimming your light. I don't want anybody to have to not be their authentic selves. And it does not mean completely losing yourself to your work and to your company. If anything, a lot of us have a tendency to maybe blend in too much. And so what happens when you do that is you work and work and work. You just work like a dog, right? You do all the things and you hope that they notice, and they don't notice, right? They're not going to notice. Blending in too much gives you a lot of burnout and more work. So if that's where you are, just kind of think about that. There might be some things that you need to do to just bring out your inner peacock a little bit more. There are some things you need to know first before you peacock, and we'll keep talking about that. If you are standing out too much, you're peacocking too much, and you have not done the proper steps in advance to prepare people, you will get the attention that you deserve, but you might also get some extra negative attention that you don't deserve. And it isn't fair and it isn't right, but that's how it kind of comes together. So that's why we need to balance both of them. Now, I believe in healthy self-promotion, and this is for everyone. It's for men, it's for women. Everyone needs to do that, but you do have to have certain things set up first. So I want to walk you through how I navigated this with a few examples. Sound good? So this is what worked for me. The first strategy, regardless of what my job description was, in every single job I had, my real job description was to make my boss's job easier. And I'm not talking, take their dry cleaning and things like that. But if my boss is someone that has to present a lot of financial information, I make sure that my inputs don't need to be double checked for errors, that my information is clear, that I personally am not difficult to manage. That doesn't mean stay small, right? There's a balance there. But if I'm always someone that just lightens the load and makes their job easier within reason, that you become an asset really quickly. The thing that kind of goes along with that, I kind of worked these at the same time, was leave everything better than I found it. It kind of automatically made my boss's job easier whenever I did that. But just like a messy desk, let's say you take a new role, and it doesn't have to be a physical messy desk, but let's just say the processes are messy, or the system is hard to use, or things are just disorganized. Whatever that looks like in your role, if you are leaving it better than you found it, and it doesn't have to be a new role, that's golden. And let's say you've been in your role for a while now, and you're like, oh, did I miss the chance to do that? Absolutely not. Think of wherever there's a hitch in a process, or think of that one thing that drives everybody crazy and everybody's sick of it. If you can solve problems and fix things that just are messy, that's another strategy. And if you are combining those two, again, that elevates your status as an asset. And the reason you want to do that is this, because you want to go for impact. And this is particularly important for the peacocking. When you want to stand out or self-promote, think about impact instead of attention. It's not necessarily attention that you want, it's impact. And if you take a step back from that, you'll think about every time you've interviewed, or as you're building out your resume, everything that you're listing and talking about is impact. Well, don't wait for a job change to make your impact known. And it's really, really important to know what your impact is, because it's measurable. Impact is data-driven. So if you implemented something that increased sales 15% year over year, if you implemented something that improved supplier quality, if you're in finance and you shortened the cycle of closing the books, anything, whatever that is, whatever you cleaned up in strategy number 2 is resulting in an impact and in data. And keep track of all of that. The thing that's important with these strategies is you never stop doing this. This is not just to get in the door. It's to get in the door. It's to stay in the door. It's to move around regardless of where you are in the door. Take these to heart and keep them in mind just as your professional journey. Make your boss's job easier, clean things up, fix stuff, make it awesome, because I already know you're awesome. Make it as awesome as you, and have that impact to show. People should know you were there, right? That always feels good. So yeah, you never stop doing this on any side of the door.
Yeah.
Are you ready for the second one?
Yeah, those are great reminders, Barb. Thanks.
Thanks. The second thing to keep in mind as a strategy, as you're working on your door, this one for the ladies, I don't mean to stereotype, but ladies tend to have a harder time with this one. Redefine your value. If you think about what your value is driven by, many of us, myself included, I've been very guilty. It's how much you get done and how many you serve. And even think of an example at home. If you have a family, how have you measured Thanksgiving? Did Thanksgiving go well? Did everybody like the food? Everything was really good. It was a great table setting, if you celebrate holidays with their gift giving, did the kids love their gifts? Did the graduation party have all the perfect pictures? Like, think about all those things where we perform. And is everybody happy? Did everybody love the vacation and all the things that you got done around the house? And then we carry that over professionally. And it's how much we get done. It's output, not necessarily outcomes, but output. All these transactions, all these things that I'm doing, and that's blending in too much. We're circling it back now. It's not work like a dog and hope they notice. It's too much blending in. Chances are we've all done that. Has anyone done that? Like, yeah, I'm doing all of the things. Nobody just says, wow, you're amazing. Let me give you another role because of that. It doesn't work. That doesn't mean don't do good work. You still need to have that in there as a foundation, but that isn't the thing that's going to launch you. Now, so we're going to skip this. We're not going to do this anymore. Ladies, again, I'm generalizing, so I want to be careful with that. I realize not everybody operates this way, but what I observed personally over 26 years working in a lot of different groups, different size companies, clients that I've worked with, even peers in my field, we've all kind of come to this realization that women seem to know how to get things done. That we know how to get things done. We're really good at that. Men, I admire greatly, they know how to navigate the world. And that's different. And it's because they know where their value comes from, and it's not from the individual things they do while they're at their desk. So as much as we can and still stay true to ourselves, just take a page out of the men's playbook. Let's talk about what that looks like. And again, if this is popping things up, drop questions in the chat. We'll get to all those. But this is what this looks like. It's like, how do you live that out? The first thing is to know what you bring to the table outside of your tasks. Now, this circles back to the blending in, the chameleon and the peacock. If you are employing those strategies, you'll start to see the things that you naturally gravitate towards. Excuse me. One of the things I noticed about myself in finance was I loved a mess. I loved coming in, cleaning up a mess, getting things in order, getting things to run without me. And as soon as I was just maintaining, I would get bored. That's not my gift. Thank you to those of you who maintain things beautifully so they don't have to be fixed all the time. But know what you bring to the table, because then you know how to insert that when it's needed. And it isn't your tasks. It's what you know and what you apply to every job that you do. Now, value, again, is not transaction-based. It's those intrinsic qualities. It's those kind of invisible things, that it's the way that you do your job. You could have 10 accountants lined up and you're going to have different value applied based on how they do their job. It's the how behind everything. I want to give you an easy way to get to this. If you're not sure what your value is, well, here, let me give you a quick example first. I was in a role where I was the head of a department that managed all of the R&D money, and to balance a portfolio and figure out what products we should be building to maximize profit. My boss was, of course, over me, the R&D department, and his name was Pat. He also had treasury and he had business development. And one day he asked me if I ever had any interest in coming over to his business development group. And I was thinking of tasks. And I said, well, I don't know how to do that. I've never worked in mergers and acquisitions. I don't know anything about that. I don't know anything about it. Can't do it. And he said, but I see how you solve problems. And that one statement completely changed really the way I saw my career after that. My value was my problem solving, and he needed that quality. He didn't care what I was applying it to. Like, oh, you only know how to do that in those spreadsheets or in that department. No, your value is not transaction-based. So if you want to identify your superpower, like problem solving is one of mine. I'm going to show you, hopefully you can see this. It's kind of small. I have a link to this in the handbook. but these are calling cards. And I bring these, depending on the workshop that I'm doing, a lot of it's team building, but people absolutely love these calling cards because it identifies your top superpowers, your main one, your sub powers. And it's not things like doing great spreadsheets, right? You have things like analyzing information. Maybe you're visionary. Maybe you have really practical skills. You're good at organizing things. Maybe you are someone who facilitates change. How many times have you heard someone that has said, I'm really good with ideas and I'm terrible with execution? Or I can't come up with the ideas, but give me a project and I can run that thing and end early and under budget. Those are different superpowers. So you need to know what yours are because they will lead you to the best fit for the projects that you do and the roles that you take. And that will help you self-promote. If you know your superpower and you're applying it, peacock away. That's where it comes together, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the last thing to think about is to just get moderately scared. Don't be crazy. Get scared and take risks. And this looks particularly again at the ladies. I don't mean to stereotype, but statistically, women do not apply for positions unless they are confident in 100% of the things on the job description. Like I know how to do 100% of these. I fulfill all of the qualifications. Our male counterparts with knowing their intrinsic value. Does anybody know statistically what their percentage is? Drop it in the chat if you know, or if you just want to guess. And I can't see the chat, so I don't know how it's coming out.
I can read them to you. We have a 40% guess, 60%, another 60%, 45.
It is, yeah, it's 60. It's 60%.
Hmm.
40, that's impressive. But think about this. Our male counterparts at work are applying for jobs with possibly fewer qualifications, and they're getting jobs. So instead of being frustrated, try to see this differently. It's because it's not the task. They know their value. They know your value. You need to know yours, whatever that is. So these calling cards are one tool. They're a lot of fun, and they're under $20 on Amazon. So I'll have the link in the handbook and you can grab yourself a deck. They're really a good exercise. All right, are we ready for number 3? Advancing in business is not transactional. I know that you know this. I know that you know this, but we've been talking transactionally. Again, it's our output. We're thinking, I'm doing this work. It should speak for itself. I used to say that to myself. I don't want to play the game. I don't want to schmooze. I don't want to do those things. I just want to do great work and just have that be recognized. And unfortunately, that isn't how it plays out, because I know you guys can finish this. It's not what you know, but who you know. But there's another layer to this that I like this one a little bit better. And maybe you've heard this before, maybe you haven't, but people do business with those they know, like, and trust. Now, back when I was a controller of a company that we had a 3-person leadership team, and we were private equity owned. And the private equity group acquired 2 sister companies. So we were all kind of merging together. And every 8 weeks, all of us would get together for a board meeting, a leadership meeting. So full board and leaders from 3 little companies. In that room was myself and 14 gentlemen. And we would meet all day long, and then we'd go to these lavish dinners, and they were 4 hours long. And I'm already the weirdo in the room, and it's small talk, and I'm finance, and all of it was not my jam, right? They had hobbies I didn't share. They watched sports I didn't follow. And the interesting dynamic was that I got along with everybody, and I had some level of respect from everybody. So if I got together with the other controllers and the treasurer on the board, we were great. My leadership team, like the sales and ops guys that working with me, we were great. Chairman of the board, great. Get everybody in a room, not so great. because nobody knew who else in the room was my ally. And nobody wanted to be the first to step out in that capacity. And so the group dynamic was different. They would make, I remember being teased at dinner for not knowing our football team's quarterback, knowing his name. I know it now, and he's not even the quarterback anymore. But things like that didn't matter. So how do you navigate that with those strategies? Again, it's relational and it's know, like, and trust. So I had to build being known, even though I didn't necessarily fit in. And it was really important to me to not lose myself and not be something that I'm not just to fit in, but I knew I had to fit in enough to be effective, especially to advocate for my team. So this is what worked for me. And it's not advancing. 1 second. There it is. The first thing that I focused on was finding the common connection. What I realized was I don't have to speak football, or I don't have to know those things, but I do have to be interested in them. And that's not being inauthentic. It's not changing who I am, because being interested in other people is just part of being a compassionate human. And that is how I conduct myself everywhere else. I conduct myself that way at my church, at the gym, in networking groups, in my neighborhood, in the office with other people. So I can do it here too. So in that moment where I was teased about not knowing who our quarterback was, I was a little embarrassed, but I just said, you know, I'm actually more of a hockey fan. And actually, I used to play in a women's hockey league when I was in my 30s. It's a true story. I was terrible at it. That doesn't matter, because instantly, even though it wasn't football, but it was, oh, well, she has some level of athletic interest. And it was just a tiny, tiny connection over a ridiculous topic that shouldn't even matter, right? But it's familiarity. It's know, like, and trust. So how are we the same? People naturally are looking for how are we the same? What is it about you that is like me? And so, again, it's a real thing. We shouldn't have to do it, but find a common connection. If you're intentionally seeking out some conversation with people and just finding out what they like, eventually you can find common connection. It might not be instant, but it's there. It's there. And it plays back into know, like, and trust. And when they feel more connected to you and you have impact, they are more likely to recognize it and receive it. The second strategy kind of in this category is to manage how you are perceived. I'm, again, not suggesting that you fake anything or you play small or make everyone else comfortable, but just understand that perception is reality and find out what the perception of you is, right or wrong. It could be completely off base, but you can't influence what you don't know. So here's an example of how that might look. Let's say that you've been interrupted in a meeting and it's frustrating, but maybe instead of kind of reacting to that or blaming, off-site, offline, outside of the meeting, just ask someone, pick someone and say, you know, I was trying to make a point in the meeting and I kept getting interrupted. So I'm wondering, could you tell me what you thought about that? Was I not presenting myself clearly or professionally? Or, I mean, if it's a different situation entirely, you could ask someone, am I hard to disagree with? Put it back on you. Even though you haven't done anything wrong, ask someone what they think and bring the attention to the situation in a very neutral way. Worst case, they'll give you some feedback you didn't want to hear. But then again, you will know and you can manage it. You might even get someone that says, oh, I didn't even notice. You know, how can I help if they're very open? But if you're not getting anywhere with it, just say, well, would you pay attention in the next meeting? And then remind them right before that meeting. Would you just let me know and give me feedback on how I'm conducting myself? Over time, you might see them becoming that ally. Don't ask for that, because just like all the gentlemen that I worked with, nobody wanted to be the one that spoke up for me. But if you can work it behind the scenes, you might start to see someone saying, you know what, Nicole was not finished with her thought and I really want to hear what she was saying. So let's just circle back to that. Like there's really safe ways that people can do that for you. So just keep an eye on that. Another thing to kind of connect this with, it might not be a situation, but get an ally. Ask for feedback and specifically get an ally, someone you could go to, and it could be someone really unlikely. You might even pick someone who's a really tough nut to crack in the office. But instead of making it about a meeting, you could just say, you know what? I'm working on this project and I have some thoughts about it that I really want to bounce off you and get your thoughts. And I know you're really busy. Could I just walk with you for 5 minutes while you get your coffee? And again, that little moment isn't going to be a game changer, but you are flattering them because you value what they think. The bonus is they are also getting to see what you think as you're presenting your thoughts, and you are building familiarity. So the more you do little things like this, they add up because you will suddenly be someone that is known and liked and trusted. And you'll also present yourself as someone who is curious and is open to hearing other views and is a team player. And those are all great things. And again, when you circle back and you peacock, you have impact, you have all these things, you're building the foundation so that those can be accepted. Does it sound exhausting? Are you guys exhausted? But it's a long game. You're playing the long game. Is everybody doing all right? We are in the home stretch. So we'll get to questions in just a moment. Oop, oop. We got a little too crazy. There we go. Are you seeing the challenge slide?
Yes. Yes. Thanks, Barb.
Thank you. A brief challenge for everybody to, as you think about this. If you are a midlife or older woman like myself, I want you to think about, are you advocating? Or if, regardless of age, if you're already in the door, and you have the position to advocate for other people, I want to challenge you to test yourself. Are you really doing that? Are you being inclusive? Are you very supportive of your younger counterparts, but then you're critical of your daughter-in-law? Are you disagreeing with parenting decisions and it's not your son's fault, it's her fault? Some of you, you might not like hearing this, but we have to do this everywhere in every space. We can't just leave it at work and then be someone else elsewhere. And for the younger women, are you treating your older counterparts as if they are invisible or irrelevant, or all the ways that you would be frustrated if the gentleman in the room treated you that way? And for everyone, for the ladies, for the gentlemen, how are you treating female leaders? If you have a female boss who has maybe been hard on you, or she is just not your style, she's not your favorite person, I can't tell you how many times friends of mine and I, peers, we've heard women overly critical of female bosses when they're doing the exact same thing that their male leaders are doing. And they've been asked, have you ever had a male boss do that? Well, yes. Is the standard different? I guess that's what I'm trying to bring out. Just do a little check on yourself. Do you have a different standard yourself? And this is really important if you are a leader in an organization. You want to make sure that you aren't bringing some of these biases in. And it's not intentional. It's a hard thing, but just take a few moments and see if there's something that might need a little bit of cleaning up. So in the handbook, I just want to give you a bonus tip that we don't have time to talk about, but if you do have a difficult boss, or if you're in a situation and maybe you've been mislabeled, maybe you've been told, you're angry or aggressive or any of those things that just are not necessary. How do you navigate that? I have some conversation pieces and some different ways to look at that in the handbook. So just know that that's there for you. I know it doesn't apply to everybody. And one thing that I did forget to say, I really want to mention this, which is hard to say. When I was in that group with the 14 gentlemen, they were all white. You can see me, I am white. And I think subconsciously we had a likeness, and that was in my favor. And that is not fair. And I don't like that. And so some of these tips, if I had been a woman of color, I would have maybe had to play that long game longer. I would have maybe had to do more. And I hate that. I really do. If I were a gentleman of color, that this was all a Midwest group and I was from New York. And so again, the more differences there are, the more you need to be familiar for that know, like, and trust.
Mm.
I hate that. But if you can just see it like, oh, we just have more differences. And if we can look at it in a neutral way, which is really hard sometimes, just keep that in mind. But you're trying to be familiar so that your good work and your talent can shine in spite of any bias that might be there. I hope that makes sense. I hope that makes sense.
Mm.
So super quick recap. You're going to balance blending in and standing out. You're going to redefine your value. It's not the stuff you do, and you are investing in relationships. And so I think Julie has the link for you if you want to either scan the QR code, grab the link, get the handbook. When you click through that, my connection will be there. I'd love to connect with you on LinkedIn. I'd love to hear what you're working on, and just get to know you more. The handbook is perfect for you if you often go to training and it ends up in this pile of good intentions.
Mhm.
I love to give handbooks because you can't just walk away and do all of these things immediately. Just take one step at a time, and you're going to need to go back and look at things. So if you want to implement and implement well, and you want the extra goodies, that's for you to grab. Just a quick reminder, it'll have all these key points in it. It'll have all the links you need, including the cards, and then that bonus content.
Mm.
So we can open it up for questions, but I do want to thank you so much. Questions, comments, if you have fun emojis, even though I can't see them, let's throw them in there.
Thank you, Barb. What a great presentation and such good reminders of strategies that we can use. And I really appreciate how you highlighted that we're all, that we elevated some stereotypes, and also we're coming to this with all different types of lived experiences. And yet these strategies can be widely applied. So thank you. Getting some great feedback in the chat about your presentation, and just feeling just gratitude for Carlson in general. I do have one question that came up. How do you find a common connection and build familiarity as someone who would describe themselves as more introverted?
I relate to that. I'm in the middle, but I'm more introverted than extroverted. And what I love about this, it's difficult when it's, hey, come to happy hour, or these, spontaneous or more random unstructured events. But this is you being in the driver's seat of the communication. So when you're finding common connection, when you are asking someone for their thoughts on the way to coffee, or however you want to employ the strategies, you get the chance to think in advance what you want to know, what you want to ask. And you can plan for that. You can plan for that. And even myself, as I'm networking, I find that when people say, how are you, or what's new, I'm horrible at answering that. And I don't know what to say. So I try to own the conversation a little more by saying, look, some of you, if you've linked into me or been getting to know me, I'll ask you through LinkedIn, what are you working on right now that you're really loving? Or just something, asking very specific questions, and then often it loops back to you. So I think as an introvert, if you're thoughtful about what you want to know, and all of this can be planned in advance without anybody knowing it, it's a great way to just kind of step into it and drive the conversation. It's a little harder if it's just randomly at these, pizza party lunches or after hours, but even that, have some specific questions in your back pocket that you can always kind of refer to. I hope that helps.
Yeah, that's really helpful to have that script. Yeah, and preparation in advance. We have time for one more question. Again, I'm getting so much great feedback here, Barb. Great presentation, solid examples, just gratitude for you and your time, and for Carlson in general. Any other specific questions as we wrap up? Okay, well, I, again, just wanted to thank you, Barb, for joining us today and for all this great content. And we have a survey that will drop in the chat. We'd love to hear from you. We really value our alumni and want to develop programs that will meet your needs. And so if you would take a minute to fill that out, that would be fantastic. I also wanted to highlight that we have another webinar coming up on August 14th on calibrating your career, where we'll offer ways where you can make even micro changes that would enhance your career well-being. So stay tuned for more information on that upcoming workshop. I wanted to remind you too that you have access to our excellent career resources on our website. So for any of you joining today, this website will be helpful for you as you navigate career. And then if you're interested in a career conversation, I would love to schedule with you. So we offer free lifetime career coaching for our Carlson alum, and you can get a hold of me on this email and I can send you kind of like next steps for scheduling an appointment. But we are just really grateful for your time. And Julie, would you mind dropping the link for the survey in the chat? We'd love to hear your feedback. It will just take a minute to fill out this exit survey. And Barb and I will still be on for a couple minutes too. So as you're filling this out, if anybody did have a question that came up, we're happy to respond to that as well.